Hello, everybody. Thank you for joining us here on Friday night. This is the Purple Planet Art Reveal Show, where we're going to give you a look at some of the stuff that is in the works for the Return to the Purple Planet, Tome Adventure number 4, the Purple Planet. And normally it would be Harley and I talking about stuff, but Harley is has other obligations tonight. So joining with me are, of course, the two best people to be talking about when we're talking about art because I lack the vocabulary. Joining me tonight is Matt Hildebrand, our art director at Goodman Games, and of course Doug Kovacs, who is responsible for pretty much everything we'll be showing on tonight. So welcome, guys.
Thank you, Mike. Appreciate that kind introduction. And hopefully I'll be able to speak art talk for the next hour or so. And I know Doug can.
Good evening.
I'm going to be playing the word monkey who, as I said, lacks the vocabulary to talk about this with any sort of intelligence whatsoever. So I'll be the stand-in for the studio audience at home. So thank you everybody who's joining us live, and I guess we might as well just get right into it. Really, I mean, we're here to talk and show off some cool art. So, as you all know, we're not even halfway through the crowdfunding on BackerKit for the reprint of what was originally DCC 84 Peril on the Purple Planet, Level 4 Adventure by Harley Stroh. So that was published 10 years ago. And to give us some context, Elena, could you bring up the first image? This is the original cover, or a portion of the original art that Doug did for this one. And
The part that shows on the front of
yes, yeah,
Yep.
Right.
this. I mean, I have my one here, my original, yeah, original box set. So there was
There you
very little on the back. So
Right.
this is actually not even half of what the original art was. So
Yeah.
uh, this was Elena. So could you bring up the second one, which is the full vista of Doug's work here?
Hmm.
Mhm.
Yep. And I'll go on record. I think I've already gone on record technically as saying that Purple Planet is probably my favorite thing that Goodman Games has published. I think it's uh, truthfully, Mike, the asterisk there is frozen in time. But anyway, the point is, this was amazing and definitely drew me in because I have a history of I loved John Carter back in the day, and I think that Harley has been on before and mentioned things like the Warlord comic, which I loved, and I'm sure there's some other inspirations too we'll talk about. But what I'd like to know, some things I don't know, is the history of this image and specifically maybe the history of the collaboration between Harley and Doug creating this piece. Um, I would love to know whatever Doug can remember from way back when about how it got started and what the collaboration was like to get to the place that we're looking at right now.
Okay, so I'm talking now.
Yep, your turn.
Uh, so as I remember it, Harley, this is frequently, I've said this before on things. Um, Harley will send me just a bunch of images as much as like kind of core concepts that are inspiring to him. And in particular, one I definitely remember is the Neanderthals from Frank Frazetta. Uh, that's what the painting's called, isn't it? Do you guys
I,
know?
I think that sounds
It's
right.
it's the one with three cavemen. I mean, everybody, if you haven't seen it, look up for Zeta Neanderthals, and I'm sure it comes up. It's got the three guys. They're also the guys that are in Fire and Ice, the Frazetta and Bakshi animation thing, which were probably an inspiration for all that stuff. Um, so like he I probably read something that he wrote where a big trope in Pearls on a Purple Planet is this horde of kith, and we hadn't figured out exactly what a kith looked like. Well, I mean, I subsequently did, but like he just had the idea of some kind of devolved human because the ascended masters who are there's kind of a hologram of them on the left there, um, uh, where the evolved, quote unquote. I mean, kind of everybody's the result of messing up the planet and being bad to each other. I think they're human originally. They're human-like. Maybe they're not exactly human. Maybe this isn't exactly, it's probably not Earth. Yeah, because then it would be dying Earth. So yeah, so I had the idea to do like this overwhelming numbers battle, at least on that one side. And then we wanted to do these French, I don't know if that's the right term, but like on the original cover, it's two covers, front and back, and then these half covers that fold out
Mhm.
to include those as handouts. So like, do you see the whole thing? Yeah, you see the whole thing. On the far right is all the creatures, the new creatures that you can encounter. I'm not gonna try to say the names, but well, Death Orm is the worm, and the I'm just going by memory here. I'm not
Yeah, that's great. That's
reading
great.
anything. That the bird things, they're something like grib,
Yeah,
Yeah.
it's the
and
group.
and
Mhm.
I'm not gonna try to remember what the
This is the
it's
Strickion. Or the
okay, you
That's
got
it.
it. You've been talking about it more.
yeah.
Yeah, that's what they're called. And then on the far left side, we wanted to like go through and do have all the different mushrooms that appear on the purple planet. And so there's a key inside of it that goes back to that part of the painting that you can see what each one of these mushrooms does. And um, presumably, I guess you're eating them or rubbing them on your head or whatever you do with mushrooms. Uh, uh, and yeah, I mean, there's a lot more to answer for, but that's kind of like the basic overview. And then the back cover, I guess we had the idea I had long time ago earlier when we just announced it and it probably wasn't even written, drawn like a head in a jar flying and like shooting a dude. That might have been I think that was in originally in the very first one was probably in and I think maybe Brad did one. Brad Met David did one too. And those were in one of the Goodman games, Gen Con, whatever the program guide back
Mhm.
then, whatever it's
Mhm.
called now. Um so that was kind of like the starting point. And then the back cover, Mike, I think we were in one of these things at Gary Con one time. Where were you in that one, Mike? We've been in them, but like I explained like I think it was Jim Scatch asked how do you do this? And I said something like you can probably check the internet to see if my memory is correct. I said something like, well, I just stand in front of the easel and then I kind of move my hands around like this and there's some paint gets moved and I think some thoughts and then it's done like which is the biggest summary because anything I told in that context anything I said wouldn't really make that much sense anyway. And it's I mean you can ask me specific questions about color schemes and
Mhm.
me and oh what I was gonna say, interrupt me if I'm talking too much, that the back cover was mostly just me making stuff up uh, and just kind of like going off on it like I wanted to do weird high fantasy architecture like you see in like these old 70s style paintings and then the planets probably I mean of course you know I'll reference Frazetta, but I'm nowhere near as like accomplished as Frazetta. And then like I probably was definitely looking at Dark Sun stuff. So like the planets hanging there. So Brahm stuff from that he did for TSR Dark Sun in the early 90s, was that Mike?
Yeah,
Something
yeah,
like
sounds
that,
about right.
late 80s, early 90s.
Yeah.
Yeah, and both of those are just painters that are way more uh, just better than me.
I know,
Um,
I know in the the update on the crowdfunding page that Harley just recently posted. He talked about one of the inspirations when he was putting things was Mobius. And I pick up a little bit of that with the architecture, that same kind of alien, not quite, not quite Earth, not quite fantasy, blending the line
Yeah.
between that and sci-fi.
Yeah, I'd say what DCC Mobius is like for me, always in the background,
Mm,
like yeah, that like that old, I mean, Mobius, whatever, did it well past the 70s, but the old heavy metal stuff and this feeling of fantasy that is interesting because at our ages, it was already kind of old. It was
mm,
already done. It wasn't contemporary to when we discovered it. So there's these layers of nostalgia that we have, and like also like Roger Dean stuff, or I would say Patrick Woodruff. I've talked about before. Is a British uh, fantasy cover artist. Just have this weird stuff and like stuff that doesn't necessarily have, it's not referencing any thing. I mean, maybe there's stuff built like this now, given the technology we have, but like at the time they were painting it, it's more based on just conceived shapes and like a sort of fantasy alienness. And this is all before fantasy was quantified, before everybody defaults to um, Lord of the Rings. This is I'm not saying that I painted the painting before the movies came out, but I was definitely not thinking, or with DCC, we're generally not trying to think about Steve Jackson or
mhm.
the Rings. We're trying to think about the weirdo stuff,
Right. Yeah.
the
And that's always one thing that's appealed to me in fantasy, even before DCC existed, is that I was never as attracted to that faux European medieval dwarves and elves and whatever. But the real alien stuff, like the stuff that's so different, it's it's incomprehensible to our modern brains. That's where it's at for me, right? That's what fantasy should be about. We need more of that. And I think it's one of the things I love about the Purple Planet is it's utter alienness feeling, right? It's a whole new multiple cultures that you as a character show up and try to figure out what the hell's going on and
Mm,
how do we deal with it all.
yeah, I think baked into it is that you have the standard European that you're coming from,
Mhm.
and then this is something different because you're going to the Purple Planet, so it's a
Mhm.
world. But like that kind of thing happens over and over in D&D, and even things like I'm thinking of, because we're talking to Mike, I'm thinking of Chain Coffin becomes weird in its unweirdness, like because it's different in it's still different than the medieval, right? But it's like this weird Appalachian. So everything is weird by context, I guess.
Yeah.
Right, very very much so. I mean, it's whatever culture you're steeped in. Any other culture is, by nature, something new and interesting. So, I mean, I know Doug, you were just at when we were in San Francisco. You were showing me pictures of the museum that you were at. Was it with the whatever it was, the Asian Art Museum or whatever it was?
Well, the Murakami stuff, maybe.
Right, right.
Yeah.
So it's like, the chain coffin stuff is somewhat more accessible to us, but it's weird in the context that it's not what you normally expect. But if
Mhm.
you're coming from somebody who's outside the United States and maybe isn't, all that familiar with Appalachian culture, you might get the
Sure, yeah. It's like
Bigger, bigger
California
cultures.
was weird to me the first time I went there from
Yeah.
Chicago. Like, the ducks are different colors, the plants are different,
Mm.
Mhm.
more jaded as you get older. California's not that weird anymore, but
So,
All
but
right, cool.
I think that's one of the things that makes I think that's one of the things that makes the art, especially for this page, for the for this big illustration, I mean, you're looking at it and it's this alien culture, this alien world, but there are the thing you can pick up the influences on it. So although you may not understand everything in the context of what's going on, you can, just because if you know just general geekdom, sci-fi, fantasy stuff, you can kind of on a subconscious level kind of pick up what's going on.
Yeah,
Mhm.
there's tropes,
Right.
it's I guess it's a form, you may be familiar with the form, but you're not familiar with the details. Like,
Mhm.
so the Kiths haven't appeared. Kith, is it Kiths? Do we know what the plural Kith
It's not
is?
Kiss. It's not Gene Simmons. Somebody apply for me.
It's Kith, right?
Probably
I
plural is
have I
Kith.
have deja vu that we've had this discussion before. Um, uh, we probably have.
Probably true.
Yeah, so yeah, ask me about some more details in that.
Yeah.
There's a lot of stuff going on in that painting that I can speak to.
Okay. Well, I mean, we can dig in a little deeper on this one if you want, or we can
Or
transition to one of the new pieces that you did.
or whatever you want to do.
Okay.
Oh,
Um,
before we go to new one, I do want to make
yeah.
one comment of this because Harley and I we kind of landed on this when we were doing the Return to the Purple Planet show, a couple of months ago. Harley was talking about the importance of like the vista as like the setting as a character in it, and this is very much it being a hex crawl, and the planet itself is almost a character. And he was referencing like the John Ford westerns where you see like the big Monument Valley or like the Star Wars big splat like Tatooine or Hoth or anything. And as we were talking, I don't think it was planned, but because this image has the two half folds on it,
Mhm.
it's almost when it's extended like this, the dimensions on like the ratio is very much, it may not be exactly, but it's very close to what you would see in like a widescreen, old school movie theater,
Hmm.
letterbox and everything. So
Yeah.
it was very interesting how this almost has a very cinematic, feeling to it just by the way the ratios of it are.
Yeah,
Hmm.
when you push into horizontals like that, it's gonna happen. But like imagine this was a movie and that much was going on the screen at once. You couldn't even look at it all. You'd have to either look at one side or the other side and then imagine it was moving. It would be so overwhelming to see. You have uh,
Uh, cool. I was going to keep my smart comment to myself about art commissions and descriptions of how much detail sometimes is requested in those. I guess I didn't keep it to myself. Anyway,
Yeah,
let's
so
I,
this one had no art description
yeah.
and it had no real j- I'm remembering a thing. So
Yeah.
like there was a point at which um I'm deep into non-alcohol now to make a note, but at the time I was deep into alcohol and I remember drinking a bunch of beers and just painting this rough of this, which I believe I gave to Harley, he has at his
Hmm.
house, where I just kind of went off with paint and like it was just to try to figure out how to, you know, fill the space and what I was interested in and whatnot. So it's very like an abstract, very rough piece. But like that predated this piece. So I was basically just thinking in shapes and color and stuff and not really detailing stuff down. But I had, I came into it knowing I was going to do like this overwhelming number of kith and then do this other image on the other side, and I knew there was going to be lots of flush, like, so yeah, that's something I remembered about the process of doing it.
Nice. Nice. And I'm sure Harley treasures that. I know that there's been a few times that projects have been worked on and Harley asks to reach out to the artist and say, hey, I want that. Um, but in general, the pieces he likes more are the sketches. Like I feel like he probably collects less finished pieces and wants the rough on the way there kind of gestural
Yeah,
drawing. And
definitely. Yeah,
he probably loved getting that piece, that on the way to the finished piece.
yeah, 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 yeah. Um,
All right, sounds good. So let's let's talk about some of the new work, right? There's you've done a few new paintings for the front and back cover of the collection, and I think we can show one of those.
Do we want to start off with the mock-up of the cover, or do we want to start off with the virgin art first?
Um, let's show the mock-up first, I
Okay.
think,
All
Mike.
right.
What do you
Elena,
think?
could you bring up image number 4 then, please? Thank you.
So I think this is what the cover at this point, this is what the cover of the hardcover is going to look like. And I think this piece, as everyone probably knows, is going to collect the original adventure and the zero level adventure and the digest size adventures that were part of it. I think that there's even other pieces. There's a new adventure that I think you probably already started working on, Doug, and
Yeah,
something
Chessman.
new from Harley. Mhm.
It's Chessman of the Purple Planet. You guys have probably talked about it already, but you kind of go back in time in it, and it's like kind of predecessors, is that the right word? Of what's going on at the current fictional time. They're both fictional, so neither one's correct.
Yeah. Yeah,
So
this in Chessman you actually go back almost like before kind of the devolution of the Purple
the
Planet.
kit fully devolved, yeah. So there's gonna be like, warriors and stuff, but they're I guess more human. I know I'm drawing one where a guy's, or it might be a woman, is riding on like a grib. Is that what we just called it?
I think so.
A vulture thing that's bigger than the little ones, because it's
Hmm.
cool to ride on dinosaurs. Everybody knows that.
Yes, we do. That's cool. So, and I think that there's other items in this. There's
Yeah.
the glossary that I can't pronounce.
So for the record, so there it will be the original Purple Planet DCC 84, and then we'll also have all the material from the box set, which is the Purple Planet Compendium. It has Escape from the Purple Planet, which was the zero level funnel for it, and then it has Purple Planet 84.1 through 84.3. So those were the digest side adventures. Then it has Harley's new adventure, and then it has the English translation of Invasion of the Purple Planet. So there's a tremendous
There,
amount.
there was also like a book of adventures, I think, right? The one with I
Oh
did
yeah.
covers in black and white for the box set.
Yeah, the compendium, which is just it just had like the Kith cover, like the Kith
Well,
face of.
there's the one where there's some adventurers walking into a tomb, and there's like a sarcophagus and
Yeah.
so
I think Edgar did some writing on it, and Tim Callahan did some writing. It's a book of ruins or the book of
yeah,
Yes,
uh
something like that.
something like that.
yes, the lost.
That one, yeah,
Yes,
got it.
the lost tombs of the ancients.
There you go. There you go. There you go. Cool.
So
Um,
that,
So all of that is going to be contained inside, but what I want to talk about are these cover images. I think that you and I have spoken recently, and you've said you've kind of dug back into the source text, the original materials that were released in the box set.
yes.
So, but at some point, doing that kind of inspired the front and back cover that we're about to take a look at.
okay,
I would love to hear the story about that.
or do you want to go to the back cover then?
Yeah, yeah, or even if
Well, we can
let's
go to the
let's
version of the front.
Good. Let's show the art version, like number 5. Let's just show
Okay,
the cover itself.
number 5, please, Elena. So
Yeah, so this is I'm assuming that we can talk in terms of nobody's gonna remember what I said when they get it anyway. So
Right.
like to get off the purple planet, which is usually the goal of the adventurers, there's a few different places you can go to get the green shards. And one of them is this city of smoke, which is what I painted in the background there. And in the city of smoke, there's this uh, father and daughter who are ascended masters who are kind of like holding the uh Harley will tell me I got this all wrong, but uh, holding the fortress of smoke together, and like you go and you encounter them and there's a bunch of shades, and that was that was the idea for those I think it's the final encounter, however many shades I drew in there. And
looks like 8.
yeah, and I wanted to like kind of get some kind of abstraction or whatever. So like they're weird Purple Planet shades, you know. Uh,
Mhm.
and so like it's the daughter and the father who are made the thing. Um, and I think I was inspired by the Zardoz costume, maybe for the dude. Um,
But which of us isn't when you think about
yeah,
it?
so yeah, and I I can't recall if this got into it, but I had this idea. This is a something that nobody knows. I had this
Nice.
idea when when I get out of the shower, like how you dry yourself off. And
Hmm.
it's like I was like, I draw my face off first, and I do this, and I do this because I have a beard. And I was like, what if I made the direction of the marks of the face of the shade be that? Because
Hmm.
I don't know, these are I have to keep myself interested and stuff. But I think that's maybe buried in there.
Okay.
Um, but yeah, is that enough?
Yeah.
Uh,
Yeah, totally, totally. That's you let on a couple secrets, but you didn't give everything away. But definitely kind of a little bit of detail I think kind of helps people understand that cover a little. But there's a back cover as well.
yeah, yeah. So I also I'll note that I kind of have a color scheme for Purple Planet, and
Mhm.
it's just complementary purple and yellow. There's the yellow you should mostly skews this ochre. So like I'm repeating that and then having the highlights be this blue, phthalo blue and green. So you can see I'm repeating that same color scheme kind of in the old one. And then I guess I use red occasionally, but those are all highlight colors. The base is this purple and ochre, which you probably know, but nobody said it in words to you.
Right, right. I think it's super successful. Like the background of that feels very warm and sand caked, right? Meanwhile, those shades have a real cold feeling, and it's the contrast I think is part of what makes it so attractive, to my eye at least. But let's talk about the back cover because I think that image is pretty awesome as well.
All right. Alexa,
Um,
could you bring up image number 6 for us, please?
so tell us a little bit about number six, Doug. What did that was there something specific in the adventure that references?
Yes, there is. So
Okay.
that's also a character from the core materials that Harley wrote.
Mhm.
Um, it's I think she's called the Black Queen. There might be some other like name of the I actually just read in the Purple Planet that all the Kith tribes are named after the playtesters. They're like anagrams of playtesters' names. That's why they're all weird. But
I've recognized Rick Hall. I can see Rick Hall in one of them, but I think
oh,
there's a
really?
lot of them, yeah,
Okay.
that I don't.
Yeah.
There's a lot I'm sure I don't know.
Okay. Yeah. So back to that the back cover. It's the queen, and there's a artifact that you can get, which anybody who follows the band will see this that Farah Halfblade, who is Hugh Halfblade's daughter, the guy with the striped pants and blonde hair and the mustache. She's had one of these items from Purple Planet for like 10 years. She's
Hmm.
had this glove thing that like it's like you use it to cut stuff, I guess, or it's kind of
Hmm.
like so the idea with the go back to the cover, the Kith Queen, she's got two of those things.
Hmm.
And she puts them together and makes like this big ass sword thing, which I illustrated on the interior, but this is like with the beams separate. And there's it's a banner, there's mushrooms. It's just repeating all the tropes, right? And there's a grib back there.
Hmm. I think at some point there was a little bit of talk of which of these should be the front cover. I think that I mocked both of
Yeah,
them up
Mike
at one
thinks
point.
that this one should be the front. I think, or at some point he said, "Should this one be on the front?" And I don't know. It could go either way, really. I
Yeah.
mean, like, I don't know.
Well, as Matt said before we started this, not everything's set in stone yet. So, I mean, if you backed it, you have access to
The
the
comments.
discussion. Maybe you start chatting. Leave a message. Say, hey, which one do you think we should be the cover?
I,
We might.
I think that the reason slightly technically why the back cover has more kind of dead space in it
Right.
over the planet. So like if you want to whatever the blurbs are that go on the back covers, but like you know, blurbs
Yep.
were not that important. At least for the cover. I mean, it's filled with words on the inside. That's pretty important. But
Right.
um,
Yeah, we'll need space for our FSC logo and the barcode. We need all kinds of room on that back
And the
cover.
price, right?
And the price. And the price.
I can't leave out
Yep.
the price, right?
Amen. All right,
well, I
cool.
mean, all the Kickstarter people already paid for it, so they don't need to know the price, do they? Um,
Nice. But all the followers, the people who aren't as well educated and up to date as the people on the backer
no,
kit,
no, I think we should always favor the people who are in front, which means the people who backed it 10 years ago.
right? That's funny. All right, coolio. Well, I think that unless there's something else we want to talk about those covers, I have there's another image here that I think we can talk about for a little while because there's a lot of looks to me like a lot of Easter eggs and a lot of things that I don't know. Way back when DCC released something called the Annual, and there was a lot of different content in that annual. It featured lots of different cool art, but there was one 2-page spread that was an image that kind of dates back to Purple Planet, and maybe it was an image that didn't get used way back when. I don't know the history, but I'd like to hear more about what I think we're calling number
Believe
7.
that
Is
I
that right?
know because I drew it.
Yeah, only Doug knows.
Uh,
That's the name of the show. Only Doug really
well,
knows.
well, yeah, that's actually true because Joe often doesn't remember what I remember. So he probably, although he was part of it, he probably doesn't remember. But
Mhm.
so and actually, I'm going to give you the best of my memory. Um, so I think the idea originally was to just draw a bunch of new Purple Planet stuff to inspire Harley, possibly for something later, or anyone.
Mhm.
So if you wonder why in the context of the annual, if you have it, there's kind of like a black border around it, and the proportions are actually I believe 3 8.5 by 11s wide because that was the original intent. But for whatever reason, that didn't happen, and it got put in the annual. Um, and it's just a bunch of crap that I made up, based on Purple Planet and what could be in it later or whatnot. Um, I think I theorized there could be a half Kith, which
Hmm.
is the central female figure on their right side. Um, you know, and then kind of like iterated on existing tropes. Um, there's the maybe there would be a class where there was a kind of like a space marine-ish robot that was actually a ascended master with the head in the jar. I thought that would be cool.
Hmm. That would be
He,
cool.
I
Agreed.
noticed when I was looking at it, I put the 7-pointed star of Caesarcon on his shoulder.
Hmm.
So like, if you start looking at my stuff again, like I have to entertain myself. So like and this is my life. I'm not I don't get pleasure from anything else. So so welcome to my pleasure. So yeah, I don't know. Do you have any other specific questions about that? Mike, what do you think of it? Is it cool?
Yeah, no, I definitely like it. I mean the what is it? On the far left we have kind of the spider leg skull, which kind of reminds me, of course, of John Carpenter's Thing a little bit there. I don't know if that
Nice.
was there. I think the the little kind of weasel human rat things. There's a little bit of, I guess there's a little bit of Lovecraft's uh, Dreams from the Witch House, the kind of the rat familiar in there, but it's also like that twist. We talked about this, Murakami's Spirited Away. There's the kind of the forest spirits in there. They're like demented versions of that. Do,
Yeah.
do, do you
Yeah,
remember?
I think it was like, coming up with stuff based on visuals, similar to, similar process to how I did the whole big color cover, come up with kind of like shapes and composition first, and then you like go into the details. And like, this is how my mind works. I'm steeped in all this stuff. So like, I'm not I'm kind of careful about not getting my mind corrupted by all the IP that's pushed at you constantly. You can, yeah, I mean, that I won't go on about how we're surrounded by people's imaginations who are broken by all the crap that's been sold to them. But we're going to sell you one more thing. Just to make sure. Anyway, but anyway, the reason why I pursue this line of thought is because like fantasy is infinite, and every time that we're told that it's one way, it's someone stealing the fantasy from us. They're saying that it can only be this one way. That's just like, I don't, let me just use the word despicable and end it there. But like, the corruption of fantasy is just, I don't know, endless. And I'm one guy trying to make an example of, hey, we can keep making new things up. We have these brains, we can put together everything in all different ways and make it new every time. It's never real any of the times. It's never correct any of the times. There's no such thing as canon. The thing that's amazing and magical is that we can make up infinite number of things, right?
Mhm.
Not that we can repeat to you what someone else told us to buy from them, but buy our stuff.
We were talking about the origin of this, and you said it came out for probably one of the, it ended up in one of the Gen Con programs. But from the timing, do you recall if this maybe might have had any tie-in with Warlords of the Purple Planet that Harley was kind of working on a couple of years ago? Do you think maybe that might have been, that Harley write faster or play test faster?
That's a good question. I'd have to like zoom in and see the date on it.
Mhm.
I do remember, as a side story, I remember being on I was visiting my brother in north of LA in Los Padres, and I think uh Joe drove down from Northern California and met us in the camping. And he had like this I think he had an original version of Dungeon, and then he had the very first prototype Harley had made of Purple Planet, and probably around the same time. You're right, probably right. um and I remember thinking, oh yeah, this is Harley's made a terrible game here. This is gonna have to get a lot more work. uh, yeah.
Okay.
But he's done various versions of it since, none of which I've played. You know,
I,
It's no dog storm, I mean.
nothing's Dogstorm. I've been
yeah.
working on Dogstorm for like 25 years.
All right. Well, speaking of Harley and stuff that you guys have worked on together, I think now would be the perfect time to introduce a little something else.
Yeah, you know what? Let's take one detour before we do that, Mike, if you're
Okay.
okay with it.
Fine.
And this Elena doesn't have to do anything for this. I think the name of this show is the Art Reveal Show. And I think this is the part of the Art Reveal Show where something gets revealed,
Ooh,
right? I think that there's one piece of art that no one has seen, and I think that's because Doug has been working on it literally these last few days, right?
Hey. uh, yeah.
so new we don't even have a digital version of it.
You
Amen.
want me to hold it up?
Yeah, I think that's the best way to go.
See if we can slowly reveal it in a very
Nice.
Good. Drum roll, or speak Darsusta,
Awesome.
A little bit
So
more, a little bit. No, back a little bit, back a little bit, back to you.
Okay.
Yeah, perfect, right there, right there. There we go. All right.
So I think what we're looking at is a special edition cover for the Tome of Adventure #4, which is the Purple Planet, of course. This is going to be a special edition foil cover that's going to be available as definitely part of the crowdfunding and maybe not retail. Who knows? I think that remains to be seen. But it will update probably on the Backer Kit page at some point, but it's so new, like Mike said, it's not been scanned, not been fiddled with by Matt. This is Doug's pure brain on paper. So anyway, I feel like it's Kith Skull, Doug, but tell us there. That's the weapon that was used. So I feel like it's a badass Kith Skull, but tell us whatever you want to tell us about it.
Yeah, it's pretty much. Do I need to hold it the whole time? Let me see if I can do it.
Hand it to Matt. Matt can hold it while you talk.
Okay, so yeah, it's a badass Kiss Skull. I worked in all those symbols around it. There's these symbols that you use on the Purple Planet to figure out the artifacts. They're only known, the meaning of them is only known to the Ascended Masters, and the Ascended Masters are a fictitious race that you can't talk to, so no one can ever know. And if anybody tells you they know,
They're full of Kith,
they're trying to manipulate you.
right?
Uh, so yeah, the symbols are, and then in between the symbols, I got bones and garbage, which is what's mostly on the Purple Planet. Bones and garbage. So yeah.
Very cool.
All right, I'm gonna put it down.
All right, sounds good.
And yes, en route, that is the limited edition cover that we're looking at there. No.
Yep. Yeah, and you're getting lots of love on the Twitch stream here, Doug. A lot of people are commenting favorably about that and about your work in general. And a lot of people say they love to hear you come on and talk about art and the interface between art and commerce.
Okay, thank you, everybody.
Yeah.
My favorite subject.
And I will comment because the question is whether this is going to be available, for retail afterwards. Usually what the process is we print enough to get them to everybody who backed it. And then there's a little bit of overflow left. There's a little bit of extra when those are gone, and those are gone. So if you definitely want to make sure that you get a copy of it, you want to back it, because there's only going to be a finite available out in the wild. So
yeah, sounds good. So I think we do have a few more images to show and a little bit more to talk about. This is a great opportunity, though. If you have a question for Doug, throw it in the chat because we'll come maybe the last few minutes of the show. If we have questions, we'll address them. But like Mike intimated, I think that you and Harley are working on something currently that is going to be part of a stretch goal to the Purple
Not a
Planet
stretch
campaign.
goal, it's an add-on. So
Add-on is the right word. I apologize.
You just add it on. We're going to be made regardless of what happens. And do you want to try to say the name of it, or should I try to say the name of it?
I'll give it a shot.
Nice.
Okay, yeah, go ahead.
You are the word guy, Mike.
Is this the? Yeah, I'm not the guy who comes up with the weird word.
Even though I made the words up, but
Seventh Duke Quest of Delisle Croom.
yeah, that's correct. So the idea was
Elena, bring up number 8 unless you haven't already, please. Okay. All right, thank you.
So the idea was Harley kind of was in love with this old Warhammer book, which I think it was from the 90s, that is kind of like a sketchbook. And I think it was mostly, I suspect it was concept art for miniatures, but it's called, you guys can look this up. It's called Blood on the Reich. It's like a horizontal book just full of kind of writing and notes and drawings of different stuff in the world of Warhammer. And he was like, hey, can we do something like this? This is kind of going back to that Harley likes the process and the sketches and all that. Like, he's admitted that he likes my pencil sometimes better than the ink stuff, which is like, that's good. I mean, there's sometimes more energy in them. But so the idea was to do a bunch of pencils from the point of view of this dude, Delisle Croom, who is kind of like we intentionally made his initials be the same as mine, so that when we sign them, when I sign it, it's also his initials.
Mhm.
But like, it's kind of me, but kind of not me. But like the idea is that he's this weird, crazy Clartesh drug fiend wizard artist that locks himself in the attic of a like a whorehouse in Punjar, and then seals it all up so nothing can get in, and then burns this incense and does these spells. And he projects himself to the purple planet, and he's walking around the purple planet drawing the stuff he sees, but he's insubstantial, like ethereal. So like, that's like the dream of an artist, that I can go and stand in a crowd and like nobody bothers me and tells me, oh yeah, tells me about their whatever, their niece who knows how to draw too, or a million things that people try to talk to you about in public, which aren't a million things. There's about four things people say. Um anyway, to be invisible on the purple planet would be a great fantasy. So the idea is Delisle Kroom. I'm not, we're still in part of the writing, but I had the idea of this like hyper etherealism thing where you project yourself out and then like you kind of slowly turn back substantial over periods. I'm not sure, like I can describe this in a game, but like, writing it out in a book and making it understandable is a whole different thing. But I had the idea that like, like wizards in DCC, where the magic is not this reliable technology, it's black magic that will eventually bite you in the ass. You The Lyle Kroom is slowly like becoming more substantial on the purple planet, and there's a point at which maybe he has to decide whether he's going to stay there or come home. And they're both bad options. Like so hence the Doom Quest. uh,
Cool. Well said. So I think that let's switch to number 9, I think, because that's a potential spread. It's still a work in progress, Doug, but I feel like this is like a naturalist journal, right? Where there's illustrations that he's made and also words
yeah,
from him, right?
right. Yeah. And Matt's been helping us with the graphic layout. So part of the reason why it looks good is because of Matt.
Or in Spider-Man, one of the two.
Uh, yeah, I mean, I helped you do better than normal by
Amen. I'll take it.
by directing you. So yeah, and it's Matt's helped me with the Hobonomicon, which is the thing I publish myself as well. I don't need to get totally into what that is, but we've kind of had a lot of collaboration going on in a lot of areas, both Goodman games and just stuff we're doing on our own. So it's an exploration, I guess, and I think that creative process that includes some amount of exploration or some amount of improvisation, jazz, whatever, is always the best. But there's risk, like you can screw things up too when you
Mhm.
don't know what you're doing.
Mhm.
Um, but yeah, did I cover everything?
I think so. The only other thing that I think was worthwhile to talk about with this spread is that there's kind of another layer of game content, right? Like as you go through, there's the fictional story and kind of a lot of cool ideas, but also there's going to be real game stats for
There'll
some of
be
the content.
crunchy stuff you can use with your Purple Planet game too. So like a lot, yeah. I mean, a lot of Purple Planet is like giving you tools. And I mean, I've had this discussion a lot with Harley. Like, he never really expects you to write the game as he's written it, because, we're aware that, what is published is one iteration of a story. And in fact, it's actually, Mike can attest to this, that other than the backstory, the adventure isn't a story. It's
Mhm.
something in which the story can happen. and the story happens in games that people play. So, giving tools and inspiration, and of course, even when you like to improv and make up a lot of stuff, sometimes you're tired. At the end of the day, you're as creative as a whatever 150-year-old man. But so sometimes you want something to go back to, and there's limitations to even the most creative person. So having these tools to go back to and use is good to have for a DM in a game.
When Harley was first talking, when we were first talking about this, I literally asked him, "It's like, is this like an in-game artifact? Like, because you could do this either way. You could do this completely. You could like strip out any sort of references to game mechanics whatsoever, and this could literally be something that okay,
Yeah,
the
yeah.
characters find."
Yeah. It can be used that way. I think we're gonna have one page have the mechanics on it, and the other page have the fluff. So you could almost turn it around and show the players the one side, and then DM sees the other side. Yeah, it could definitely be used that way. And then you can go see if you can find all the things. So a discussion we actually had that Matt brought up is are we simulating the Journal of Delisle Croom, or is this the Tashin version of Delisle Croom's journals?
Right.
And it's the latter. So like, their paper. Oh yeah, one note on that paper. I actually got the paper out of my attic. This is a weird coincidence. I got it out of my attic, and it might be old newspaper. It's like 50 years old or something that was up in my attic, and it's all messed up. And I scanned it in, and of course it broke apart as I was scanning it. And so that's like actual ancient paper. Possibly from the Purple Planet. I mean, if we enter absurd land with our conversation, maybe Dial Kroom was in my attic. Maybe I was in my attic. Maybe it's full circle. Maybe everything I'm saying is a lie. Or the story.
Maybe
But
you're
it's
all that's left of Delilah Crew after you see us progress to the Purple Planet. You're the
Yeah,
shell.
maybe we're all just projections of characters from D&D world, and we don't actually exist. And
Mhm.
they're playing a game where we go that this is the magic, and we go on and we talk to a fictitious audience.
I have words for my player then because I want a different class.
I think all that sounds good, but I think the one thing you left out, Doug, is that there's a possibility that you actually live in a horror house in Punjab, right? Isn't that where you said that he
Sure. It's
Punjar?
I guess it's possible.
Yeah.
I think yeah. Um,
Let's say maybe at one point your house was. Who knows, right? It's been traveling on its own.
yeah, there was a certain amount of like decrepitude, like, and um decadence that had to be achieved, like,
Hmm.
but he seals himself. I'm talking about Delisle Croom now.
Hmm.
Seals himself into the room, so he's not really interacting with the rest of what's going on there, but
Sure.
like, he's like this drug addict who's got to like breathe in all the magic and the art and the fumes. And I
Hmm.
I did make myself intolerant to oil paint when I was 19 years old by painting in a basement.
Hmm.
This
So,
is subconscious coronavirus trauma. Like when we're all self-isolated, coming out, burbling out through the art. That's what.
there's it's inevitable that you pile your own experiences into your
Mm.
season stuff because that's what you know, right?
Yep.
Like, see,
And if you try to use somebody else's experience,
yeah, if I
it's
wanted to
authentic.
write about, horsemanship, you know, or my mariner's voyages, you know, anyone who knew anything about it or did a little bit of research would quickly figure out that I'm full of crap.
Awesome. All right. So I think we do have a few minutes left, and we're open for questions as far as the chat goes. I'm curious about, I assume that this is just another stage in the Purple Planet journey, right? And that there, at some point, there will be new Purple Planet content. At least I hope there is. Um, is
Me
there
and
any?
Harley will keep making it, even if
Yeah.
no one wants us to make it, because that's how we do.
Is there is there a part of Purple Planet that is that stands out to you? Is there a part that is the part you're most proud of? Is there a part that you think that is there a an area that you think needs filled in by some future product?
Are you asking me?
I am. Yeah, yeah, yeah. And I mean, Mike can answer too. Mike's familiar enough with the entire DCC line. Maybe there's a Purple Planet hole that needs filled.
It's kind of just my general answer to all DCC stuff. So the easy entry, the doorway is the kitsch. And you haha, that's funny striped pants, whatever. Uh, but but like you can stick around and let the kitsch wear off, and then you're playing a deeper game.
Mhm.
So to me, the thing to explore is like, you know, it is what Harley's exploring. Like, how did the Purple Planet get to be like this? He has
Right.
I talked to Harley about, he has like an underlying kind of history that and things that he was reacting to, the philosophical ideas and abstract ideas that might not be exactly in your face,
Hmm.
but are buried under there. And when you have like solid tropes at the bottom of it, the iterations are, infinite. So
Hmm.
like the idea, I always want to look into like how do these how do worlds exist simultaneously? And because I read or I listen to the exegesis of Phil K. Dick every night when I sleep. I'm always looking for more Gnosticism and flat time in everything, because again, I have to be entertained by this life, and kitsch only goes so far. Uh, Now that I've alienated all the DCC fans,
No, I
Mike, what do you think of that? Uh,
I mean, I think the greatest thing about DCC and written large and about the Purple Planet as a kind of the microcosms of that is that we it's kind of what the Purple Planet does. It's like we present tools, like these are the tools of it, and then unlike the Forgotten Realms or something where we want to fill in every little blank space on the map or anything. I mean, the plateau which which is the focus of Peril on the Purple Planet, is just a small percentage of this entire alien world. And I mean, and there's nothing that's preventing you from moving past that plateau, from changing it. It's not like Doug or Harley or I or Matt is going to come and say you're doing it wrong or anything. I mean, Doug may say
Mhm.
that privately if he hears about
yeah,
it.
yeah. I mean,
But
I'll probably say you're doing it wrong, but 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 I also admit that you don't have to listen to me. And like, how can I enforce that? I don't have any power.
Right.
Like,
No, yeah, I don't think you alienated the crowd. I think what you did is you opened the door to folks to do it their way, right? To create cool
and they're
stuff
gonna
to
do it
work.
their way anyway. So like,
Absolutely.
this is like the honest approach to it is like, you know, people who have marketed D&D over time, it's obvious that a lot of the people really don't play the game or know what it is,
Hmm.
because like there's all these things that are done that are completely like, back in the day, just quick story, people would write into Dragon Magazine and ask about a rule. And like in a high school, I was like, are these people waiting like to get a reply from TSR
Sitting
to
at the
play
table
their
with a die in
game?
their
Like,
hand. Yeah.
you know, so that whole interaction of talking about games is, fun for some people, but the core thing really is playing the games, like
Mhm.
the experience of playing the games. We can read the books and talk about it forever, but like that's not why D&D or DCC exists. It exists because people wanted to actually interact, play a game, and not know what's going to happen, right?
Mhm. Mhm. Yep. Yep.
I mean, I can, from a creative point of view, I mean, there's nothing I like more than creating something and putting it out there and then seeing what people are going to do with it. I mean, it's taken this long for there to be third party people who are kind of actually taking like the Shutter Mountain stuff. Like it felt for the long time, it was like, it's like, Mike, is it okay to do this? Or like, what's in the Shutter Mountain? It's like, I don't know, I mean, it's like, you tell me, it's out there, it's
Lizard people.
I want to be surprised by my creations as well. I mean, that's why you're a judge or a game master or anything, because you have these ideas and you throw it out there, and then the
Right.
players.
Yeah. So it's like it's a creative thing too, where you know, like when I make a game, when I DM lots, I've been DMing for whatever it is, 40 years now. Like, since I'm not creating my game as with any constraints really, like the only thing that's important is that something I'm interested in. Like,
Mhm.
so, and with RPGs and D&D and DCC, like you just pick the things that you're interested in, and then hopefully as a DM you can project that enthusiasm to your players, and then they become interested. And of course they add things in too, but you add more larger ideas as a DM. And
Mhm.
like if you want to replace Kith with orcs, or um, you know, Matt would want to replace them with swamp things or pygmies or Plantians, whatever version of the Green Man you want to have be in there. Like that, like what if Kith were a Green Man? Like that
Mhm.
changes everything, right?
Mhm.
Like but like that that's something you can do. There's no one stopping you from doing it. And even you don't even have to make a zine or a product or anything. You just
Mhm.
bring it to a few people that you're playing with and like postulate on this fantasy thing that I've thought of. And maybe it's a terrible idea, maybe it's not fun, but give it a shot, like
Awesome. 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 I think that's great. And I think we're probably close to our finish line
Yeah,
here.
yeah,
Mike, what do you think?
this
do
is
we have any peanut gallery questions?
let me see
Any
here.
that
Let's
aren't.
see.
I think there was,
We have a question. Is there any plans to add pictures or pages to the player's companion? Nothing has been determined yet right now. I think we're more interested in seeing where we go with stretch goals at this point. And I
Mhm.
mean, yeah,
Well, the player's companion, meaning what is that? Is
that
that
was
are
the
they a
that was the it was in this,
Yeah.
and it was
So,
no, it was the one that was Joe had to remind me of it.
yeah.
But it was like it had like the character sheet in it, and it had like the
Oh,
space
okay.
to put down the notes of like,
Handouts and stuff. Yeah.
yeah. Yeah.
Um, yeah, I have some illustrations to do for the chessmen, and I can't remember offhand whether he included new handouts with
Yeah,
that.
there's been a couple new stretch goals from what Harley did and everything like that, but we're not making any decisions until we get closer to the end. So, but anything else? Um, no, that's it. I think a couple people are my favorite question to ask Doug because he knows how much he loves it. How long did it take you to make that cover? I don't think we have to answer that one. So.
Well, I'm 50 now. That was done 10 years ago, so it took me 40 years to do it.
There you go. Right. Uh,
No math.
all
Um,
right. Well, I think that covers it for pertinent stuff that we can talk about for tonight. So, and it's
mhm.
Friday night, and some of us are working tomorrow. All right. Well, guys, thank you very much for taking the time out and talking about this because God knows I couldn't do it myself. Oh,
It was our
so
pleasure. I think we all leaned on Doug, so we all owe him a debt of gratitude. So thank you, my friend.
all right. Well, thank you everybody for tuning in. And if you haven't already backed the return to the adventures on the Purple Planet and beyond, by all means, go swing by Backer Kit and throw some money toward us so we can bring you more cool stuff. And with
Good
that, good night, everybody.
night,
Bye.
everybody.